Thank you so much for tuning into Horrible People Podcast. I'm Jenn McDonald, and the horrible person that I'm speaking with today is myself. I decided to do a simple solo Q&A podcast episode just to make sure that any confusion or questions surrounding the podcast, its intentions, what I do, whatever it may be, is answered and clear. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of chatting before this. I'm just going to dive right in. I did receive a lot of questions, and some of them are really good questions. So let's get started. All right. I have them written down on my little book here because I am elderly and I don't want to be looking at my screen and trying to talk to you guys and all this fun stuff. I guess I should preface this by saying that if you're listening on audio, that's awesome. Some of the questions that I've kind of skimmed through do have stories or a photo element attached. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put the pictures and videos and whatever up as I'm speaking. So either way, listening, watching, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so first question, is the Earth flat? Well, I know who submitted this question, and if you are the optics/scope expert that you claim to be, I think you should know very well that the world is in fact flat. And if you disagree with that, then you are a racist. Favorite food? This is always such a hard one for me to answer. I don't have an actual favorite food. Like I don't, love just one thing. It kind of depends on what I'm feeling at the time. There's a lot of food that I do absolutely prefer over others. Like, of course, like every other white girl out there, love me some tacos. Tacos are great. Lasagna is great. I'm really hungry right now, so my brain is just going to be spinning with all of the different food options that are out there. I like trying new things. I love Mexican food. I love Asian food. I love Thai food, American food, just everything. I love all kinds of food. I love trying things that are new and different. And I'm not really a picky eater, so it's not like I have one specific food that I always flock to. Any big plans for 2025? All right. I have a lot of big plans for 2025. I'm so excited. This has been a busy year already. It's February, and already I am just like on the go with so many different projects and so many projects on the horizon. So I'm actually super excited for turkey season coming up. Turkey season for us opens at the end of April. We can purchase our tags at the beginning of March. And my goal is to bag, two birds this season and actually get it kind of where I can get a limb hanger. I want to get that big old tom with the big old spurs. I'm so excited for turkey season. I'm going to be out there hopefully as soon as it opens, that first day, that first morning. It's so exciting to be sitting out in the blind or the bush and you just hear that gobble thundering through the woods before the sun even comes up. So that is, turkey season's got to be one of my favorites. Turkey hunting, one of my favorites so far. Does that count as a plan? I guess so. What else? During turkey season, so much amazing stuff out there to forage. There's morels, there's fiddleheads, there's wild violets, there's wild garlic or wild ramps, whatever you want to call them. Lots of different kinds of mushrooms. So I'm very excited for foraging season. I want to do a lot of different cooking and try different recipes. And I also want to try different ways to preserve all of the different things that I forage, like the morels specifically, the wild garlics or ramps specifically, and fiddleheads, because that's something that you really can enjoy throughout the year. But I just want to find the best way to preserve those so that they stay as fresh and tasty as possible whenever I use them after season. If I find the perfect way for me, I will definitely share it with you guys. So yeah, turkey season, foraging season, they both open kind of end of April, beginning of May. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. So that's what I'm currently looking forward to. I'm also hosting a ladies range day at my local gun range at the end of May. I've already had a ton of interest and excitement surrounding that. We're going to invite ladies from the community that, maybe they have minimal experience, no experience whatsoever with firearms. into the club where they can, pop by, try whatever guns they'd like. We're going to have stations set up where our members are going to be demonstrating the various shooting sports that exist in the world. In our world, IPSC, Steel Challenge, Cowboy Action. Those are 3 really big sports that go on at our gun range. So I'm so excited for the ladies to stop by and experience that, especially now where our industry and community is under attack politically, and we're almost demonized to the extent that people think that firearms are just some sort of unsafe, unhinged hobby. I really want women to see that it is something that women actually do participate in, and it might get them into the door if they want to start hunting or shooting for themselves. So that's one thing that I'm currently working on, very excited about. I'm going to have women ROs, so range officers there, so that it's, women teaching women. The guys can run administration. They can show off the sports with some women mixed in there as well. But this is really going to be a women's led, women's driven range day, because I do find that a lot of ladies are more comfortable heading out for the first time if they know it's an event that is specific for girls and ladies. Following that, there's National Range Day coming up. That is the 1st June of every year, National Range Day. It is a project or an initiative that CCFR initially started, and ranges and gun stores all across Canada participate in this. I'm so excited. We're hosting another open house at my local gun range, and we usually have a big sign at the end of the driveway so that people driving by, it's a major roadway that we're on, people driving by will see the sign. A lot of times they pop into the range specifically because of that sign. I'm doing a lot of promotion and advertising on Facebook and social media for this, and we just want to get people in the community to come out, check out the range, see the different types of shooting sports that we have, and we're going to have stations set up so that they can try out guns for themselves. It's always a huge, huge hit. And last year we were able to donate $5,000 to Beyond 21, which is a local organization that helps people that are maybe developmentally delayed or just need additional assistance. And that was super huge for the community. We had local politicians show up. If you're interested in hosting your own National Range Day, or if you want to get your range involved, you can, do the Google machine magic, look up National Range Day. Tons of information on the interweb about that. What else is going on for 2025? I started a super, super exciting project with Wes David from Fishing the Wild West TV. It's on Wild TV, Sportsman's Channel, a few other channels. They're just about to celebrate their 10th year, which is so exciting. 10th year being on the air. I'm going to be hosting the Wild Cookhouse segment. So I'll be showing off a few of the recipes that I do with wild game and foraged mushrooms and plants. I'm super excited for this. So you guys definitely have to check out Wes David. He was on last season's podcast, like last season of Horrible People podcast. He told us all about Fishing the Wild West TV, his previous career as a bull rider, like just honestly such an awesome guy. I met Wes at an Edmonton trade show a couple years ago. We drive really well. I think we have the same sort of mindset and goals when it comes to educating people about getting out into the outdoors, pursuing hunting, pursuing fishing, using the stuff that we harvest. And yeah, I'm so excited about this. I've got a few recipes lined up, but that's kind of what I'm going to be doing in 2025, just recording a lot of those recipes and informational segments, lots of planning that surrounds that. I just want to make sure that I'm using recipes that I've, done plenty of times. They're tried and true. The recipes that I've worked on and adjusted to make them as perfect as I possibly can. So you guys need to check him out. Check out that TV show. It's very, very, very well done. Very good TV show. I love it. And you guys might see me on there next season. So that is one thing that I'm super excited about. There are a couple of other projects that I can't speak on right now, but I will definitely be sharing those out once I can speak about them. So, if you're following me on the socials, thank you so much. That's kind of where I'll be sharing that information. I feel like I'm saying a lot, so I very much apologize if you're listening to this and you want to strangle me already. You can check out my socials. It's just Jenn with 2 N's DVC on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. Jenn McDonald on Facebook. I'm stuck with the name Jennifer Gadbois or Jenn Gadbois right now because Facebook will not allow me to change my name. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, because I guess I post too many gun and hunting related posts and videos. So I'm waiting for some sort of restriction to be lifted off my account. But regardless, everywhere else, Jenn McDonald, Facebook, Jenn Gadbois. I know it's confusing. I get questions about it all the time. I'm sorry. And work. 2025 are going into an election year. Hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. Lots of work surrounding that, talking with people or politicians from across the board, both sides of the spectrum, left and right. We want to try and form the best policies and soften the blow on any anti-legal firearm regulations that they're trying to force on through that impact gun stores, the gun industry, hunting industry, and of course the hunting and firearms community. We are also working on hosting another Legends banquet. We have one coming up at the end of February. This is obviously going to be released after that, but right now, that Legends banquet is going to be held at the end of February, and I am very excited for that. Those Legends banquets go over so well. For anybody that's kind of curious, what we do is we take in nominations from other industry members for individuals that work in the hunting and firearms business sector that are great leaders, great mentors, have contributed so much either voluntarily or with their longevity and experience. The Legends Committee, that is the volunteer board for CSAAA, selects a few awardees, and we host a beautiful banquet. We have a fundraiser silent auction, and we really just highlight these individuals that have made huge impacts on the hunting and firearms community. So that one, I'm going to have some last minute hustle and bustle to do that week, but that's coming along extremely nicely. And then we're going to be hosting another one later on in the year. So yeah, if you're part of the industry or like to follow that, then keep an eye out. Let me see what my next question is. I get anxiety hunting alone, especially at night. How are you so confident going alone? This question is a good one. I'm not. There's an old Amish saying, fake it till you make it. That rings true. I am in a constant state of anxiety and turmoil about everything. When I go ice fishing, I'm always terrified that I am going to, because I go alone a lot, I'm always terrified that I'm going to fall through the ice, no matter if it's 3 feet thick of ice, drown and never be seen again. Like, I worry. I know it's not going to happen in the back of my head. I know it's fine. I really make sure the ice is safe before I go out, but I can't help what pops into my brain. And when I'm hunting alone, at night, to be honest, I get it. A lot of people say that they have a hard time, walking out from their stand or blind or whatever at night when it's dark and there's coyotes and whatever else may be out there, the unknown. That part doesn't bother me, surprisingly. I'm like, you know what? I've got my gun. I've got a flashlight. I'm a human being. Whatever's out there is, for the most part, more scared of me than I am of it. So I'm fine. But hunting alone, I do honestly, like when I'm sitting there, there's stuff that goes through my head. I'm thinking, what if I fall out of this tree stand and break my back and I am laying here forever? And, my husband doesn't know where I am for whatever reason. He knows where I am. If I don't show up at like after dark, he's going to think, where's this girl? I'm going to go find her, going over to her hunting spot. Still, something that always goes through my head. So I'm not confident in going alone for the most part. Like I do get that anxiety. I do get the worries. My head for everything is constantly going through worst case scenario. I catastrophize everything. So, I mean, you just gotta get out there, force yourself to do it. And honestly, as hard as it may seem, fake it till you make it. The more you do it, the more confident you're going to become, the easier it's going to be to tell yourself, like, listen, you're fine. You've got this. And if you do need to go out with somebody else just to build up that confidence, there's nothing wrong with that. You can try and go out with outfitters. There's a ton of awesome groups out there that take people out hunting, fishing, whatever it might be. Find a friend, find a spouse, just keep going. And the more you go out, the more experienced you'll get, the more confident you'll get, and it's going to be a non-issue. Trust me, it gets better, and trust me, you can absolutely do it. And that sounded really like inspirational, like, yeah, you can do it, but it's true. Sorry, I didn't want to be too cheesy with that. Okay, how did you get into hunting? Do your parents hunt? My parents don't hunt or fish or have anything to do with firearms in any way, shape, or form. I always loved being outdoors. So even as a young child, I was just always outside in the woods, loved the idea of self sufficiency. So enjoyed the idea of gardening and all of that. Loved the outdoors, loved nature, loved wildlife, loved animals, the whole shebang. So when I got older, I actually, like, I think it was late high school, maybe right after high school, I did start to get interested and curious about hunting and firearms. But I was a broke arse college student or high school student, so I didn't really have the funds or resources to my knowledge to go out and pursue this. So after college, I had a little bit more money, like not really a lot, but a tiny bit. So I took the hunting and firearms course. I got licensed, did very minimal research on what my first firearm should be, but just knew, you know what? According to the regulations, 12 gauge shotgun should be good to cover me for whatever species I want to hunt right now. Went out and bought the cheapest used semi automatic shotgun I could find at a gun store. Didn't know anything about it. It wasn't great to me. It was always jamming. It got the job done, honestly, for quite a while until I was able to upgrade. But after getting my license, doing the course, purchasing that firearm, I just did a lot of YouTube research, talked to friends, read. I mean, the internet is just like, there's so much knowledge and information on the internet. So read up on all the different techniques and all about hunting and just asked a local farmer for permission to hunt on their land. And yeah, that deer season, I went out and I sat for, I only had a shotgun at the time, so I could only do the first 2 weeks of November, which was our shotgun season. Sat out there with a shotgun every day, every night, took time off work. And at the very, very last day, I ended up harvesting a doe, which was my first harvest. And from there, you just kind of, I mean, you get hooked. It was exciting to be able to harvest your own meat. The whole process was exhilarating. I remember seeing that doe and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I seeing things? I haven't seen anything in 2 weeks. This is crazy. Is she big enough to shoot? Is she within range? Like, all of this is flying through my head. And aimed and took her. And it was pretty exciting. So, yeah, that's how I got into hunting. I just kind of forced myself into it. From hunting, I got more into firearms. So, I decided to join a local gun range, purchased some handguns. I did some sports shooting for a little bit, was super active in the range that way. Fortunately, I do not sports shoot anymore or shoot at the range as much as I would like to, but life is very busy now and I'm a little bit further from the range than I used to be. So it's not like it's just a 5-minute jaunt up the road. So yeah, I really just fell into it and forced myself to get into it. And trust me, if I can do it, absolutely anybody on this planet can. So just get your license, take the course. That is the absolute first step, and just find ways to force yourself into it. There are a ton of ladies groups and general groups and gun ranges that will absolutely take you in and show you the ropes and get you the best head start. And if you don't have those kinds of resources to access that stuff, you can do it yourself. Drive around from farm to farm, asking for hunting permission. People are going to say no. That's life. Move on to the next. Sooner or later, somebody's going to say yes. Just be very respectful whenever you ask and let them know that you are going to respect their land and respect whatever rules they might have, and just go. Sometimes you just got to force yourself to do stuff. What do you do for work? All right. So I manage an organization called CSAAA, the Canadian Sporting Arms and Ammunition Association. It is very different than a lot of the organizations that people are more familiar with. It is the Hunting and Firearms Industry Organization. So our membership is made up of gun stores, distributors, manufacturers, hunting stores, service providers that service the hunting and firearms industry. We are a nonprofit organization that is really led by a board of volunteer directors. So these volunteers are nominated in, they're elected in, and these men and women work in the firearm and hunting industry, and they're just the most phenomenal bunch. So I manage that organization. I do a lot of political advocacy, any ideas that they might have, any initiatives that they might want to pursue. I help execute those. And then I do the more boring stuff like the accounting, the administration, and the more exciting stuff like hosting these events, planning these events, working with politicians to help the board get their message across, working with different policymakers and service providers to help make sure that the board and the industry's voice is being heard and that their concerns are being met, corresponding with our business members. A lot of the times they'll have questions throughout the business week, whether it's, boots on the ground stuff like, how do I do this? How do I process that with the new regulations? What's going on with the gun laws today? And a lot of the times I learn a lot as I'm trying to figure out how to answer them. I've been doing this for 3 years now, and not a week goes by that I don't learn something or grow in some way. So I'm very, very thankful to have this position. I also groom cats part-time. I know that's crazy. I do that Monday and Tuesday evenings after work, as well as some Saturdays. It's very busy, blew up a lot quicker than I thought it would. I am going to be giving that up later this summer because life is just about to get a whole lot busier, but that is currently what I do as well part-time. And then I've got a couple of little side projects and side hustles because I like to stay busy and I enjoy making money. Oh, this one. What is wrong with you? We have a two-parter question. What is wrong with you? How could you murder innocent animals for fun? Well, there is a lot wrong with me. And if you are offended by me harvesting food ethically and legally, contributing to conservation, and harvesting these animals and using as much of their bodies as I possibly can to respect them, then if I go through the list of things that's wrong with me, it will just send you over the edge. Because, girl, there's a lot wrong with me. A lot has happened in my life to make me as odd and awkward and anxious as I am. I'm kind of kidding, but not really. Yeah, this is honestly a question that I get a lot on my hunting and firearm posts. So I think that there's a huge disconnect between hunters and non-hunters in the sense that a lot of non-hunters or anti-hunters just kind of think that we go out and blast animals for fun and leave their carcasses to rot. That's not the case. It's legal. It's very ethical. It contributes to conservation in the sense that it's population control. We are, weaning out the older and less agile of the herd. Nothing in nature dies a beautiful, natural, peaceful death. Usually they're getting ripped apart by coyotes or starving to death, dehydrating, dying of some sort of illness, dying with some sort of a broken limb. Like death in nature, it's not friendly. So yeah, hunters go out, ethically harvest their food, deer, turkey, whatever it may be. And we really honestly do respect the animals that we harvest. So I don't think that everything that's wrong with me is why I murder. I'm doing quotations for those listening and not watching innocent animals. I think it is why I respect animals enough and understand them enough to have such a passionate love for them. So yeah, thank you for that question, ma'am. The next question. I'm sorry if this is this is boring. I'm sorry. I thought it would be cool to do a Q&A, and now I'm sort of second guessing myself, and I hope it is entertaining. And if not, well, sorry, the next episode will be. I'm confused. What province do you live in? I get this a lot. Most people assume that I live in Alberta. I actually live in Ontario. I have attended a few events in Alberta for work, so maybe that's where the confusion comes from. Maybe it's my lifestyle, but yeah, I live in Ontario. Will you be coming out with a cookbook soon? Please do. Thank you so much for this question. That is very sweet. I don't think I'll be coming out with a cookbook soon, but it is something that a lot of people have asked me about and suggested. And the fact that I do have a website, whywehunt.ca, where I post a lot of the recipes that I've sort of formed and perfected over the years. And the fact that I am very passionate about cooking wild game and my foraged goods. I think I should make a cookbook. I mean, why not? If it flops, it flops. If it's great, it's great. Like, it is something that I want to do now, but I want to make sure it is the best I could possibly do. So I don't want to just go through my website, throw a bunch of random recipes together and throw it into a printer and try and sell it that way. I want it to be good. So it's going to take a couple of years for me to perfect a lot of these recipes, build up more recipes. There are a lot of recipes that I don't share because I'm still working on them. I want to do different aspects as well, like preserving different foraged goods, using different foraged goods, identifying different foraged items, processing different wildlife or wild game. So it's going to take a lot of work, but it is something that I really do plan on doing in the future. And I really appreciate that question because it does encourage me to keep pursuing that. Are you always working? That was the other question. No, I'm not always working. I do like to be on the go a lot. I like to stay very active. A lot of exciting, things that I'm working on in my life. And if I don't stay busy, I'm going to slip into a deep, dark depression. I'm kidding. I'm 100% kidding. That's morbid. But I do like to stay really busy. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me happy. And I want to do a lot of things in life. So that means you got to stay busy. Next question. Will you ever have a guest on your podcast? Well, that is actually all this podcast is going to be and has been previously. So if you guys go back and check out season 1, I had a ton of phenomenal guests. I'm sure you guys are going to be familiar with most of them. And if not, you're going to want to become more familiar with them once you listen to their episodes going forward. And, before this episode, I'm sure season 2, I have guests on. I want to talk to people that have been demonized, misunderstood, outcast just because of the way they live or how they present themselves or whatever. I had a really, really good conversation with Travis Bader from Silvercore podcast in the last season. And he brought up a really, really good point that I should maybe branch out further than just the hunting and firearms community and try to talk to people that have been quote unquote, othered or demonized or just made to feel different in other aspects. So whether it be sexual orientation, religion, career-wise, their political background, their beliefs, anything. So I do have a bunch of really, really exciting episodes lined up. There's people that have different career paths that are often looked down upon or misconstrued. There are people that identify differently, have different sexual orientations, different religious beliefs, different ways of life. A lot of really, really exciting people. So I do hope you guys will listen in. I think you'll learn a lot. The whole point is to try and get people to think for themselves and maybe see that just because mainstream is demonizing someone or just because there is a general misconception of how they live, we need to dig deeper before making a final opinion on these people. So yes, I will most definitely be having tons of guests on this podcast. I'm only going to do these Q&As periodically where it's just me yammering at you. And with that being said, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments here, wherever you're listening. I will find them and keep them. Or you can email me at Jenn with 2 N's at whywehunt.ca, and I will try and answer them the next time I do one of these podcasts. If you guys like them, if this podcast gets like no listens or views, and if you guys are like, this is the most boring thing I've ever listened to in my life, I'm not going to burden you with this again, but I had to try it out. Next question. Favorite podcast? Next question. Favorite podcasts? My podcast listening is all over the map. I really like podcasts that I can disassociate to whenever I am doing housework or driving, because I find, okay, two different spectrums. So I'll listen to a lot of informative podcasts, a lot of political podcasts, and then I listen to a lot of just absolutely silly comedy podcasts whenever I just want a break from it all. So I listen to the Viral podcast with Chelsea Lynn and Paige Jin. It is so funny, and it takes a very specific type of humor to appreciate it. So if you check it out, just relax. I'm so sorry. Your Mom's House, Tom Segura and Christina P. Funny podcast. Slop City with Libby Higgins and Tina D-Ball, another one I listen to. There's also a podcast called Trailer Tales with Libby Higgins, Chelsea Lynn, and Jeremiah Watkins. These are all comedians that just make these podcasts, and they're so funny. I do listen to some more political podcasts. So there is a daily political podcast that I will listen to. It's about 15 to 20 minutes long. And it just kind of gives you an update every day as to what's going on politically in Canada. I think for my own career or job and the direction that this country has gone in and is going in, it's super important to stay up to date on politics. That podcast is called The Daily Brief. And I listen to a few informative podcasts. Silver Cord podcast with Travis Bader. He's always got some extraordinary guests on there. I always learn a lot. There's Joe Rogan that I'll tune into once in a while, but I have a hard time with how long his podcasts are. And I mean, the fact that he pumps out a podcast every day, I'm not listening to every single one. Sorry, Joey. And then a few others that I'll tune into that Friends host, like Canadian Women of the Outdoors. So yeah, a huge range of podcasts. Shoot, we're kind of getting to the end here. I do have a few more questions. How much more do I have? Okay, I have one more page, so bear with me. I'm going to try and pump through these, and then I will relieve you of my yammering. All right, so this question. I'm trying to grow a health and wellness account, but I have severe imposter syndrome, plus only 300 followers. How do you do it? How do you get started? So, imposter syndrome is whenever you believe that you don't have the ability or you don't deserve to pursue whatever goal or initiative you might be pursuing. I obviously have it too, because like, who the hell am I to be telling people to do anything or like showing off anything about how I live? It's so normal. And honestly, like, clearly every single account starts at 0 followers. You just have to be consistent with your posts. Post something that's informative, something that's different, but honestly, just be yourself. I know that sounds very cliche and corny, but being yourself is how your posts come through authentically, and people are really receptive to authentic posts. And health and wellness is huge now. It is a growing niche on social media. So now is the perfect time for you to start your page, whatever you want to do. Just keep posting and hashtagging and thinking of content consistently. You have to keep going. You're going to be posting for weeks and months and getting little traction and 0 responses. And then one day you're just going to be like, holy crap, I've got like 10,000 followers. This is amazing. I'm doing it. So yeah, just keep posting. I think a lot of people get discouraged and they just stop. And then that's kind of just when they would have had their big break, and right when things would have turned and people would start noticing their accounts and following their accounts, and they'd really start getting that traction. So just friggin' do it. Even if you feel like you're posting for yourself and nobody's watching. All right. What's the next one? Do you have any funny hunting stories? No, the season before last, this is just the first one that popped into my head. I have a ton of funny stories, I'm sure. But the season before last, it was deer season, muzzleloader week. I had my muzzleloader, and the way the property that I hunt on is set up, there's a few fields and they're all divided by creeks with culverts and tractor paths to get into each field. So I was walking the property, kind of doing a little hopeful spot and stalk sort of style hunt. And I didn't want to walk all the way around the field because it was kind of getting to be the end of the evening. Didn't want to walk all the way around the field to the tractor path. So I thought, you know what, there's a spot in the creek that it's usually pretty narrow and shallow, and I've crossed over there plenty of times. I'm going to cross over there instead of walking all around. It's going to be so much faster. So I'm walking and walking, and I go down into the creek and I try to pass over the ice because it is iced over. It's pretty cold in December, and I slip on the ice. So feet go out. I have my muzzleloader, shouldered, little backpack on, hunting gear, all that. And as I fall onto the ice, I break through the ice and am completely submerged in water. And I jump up as fast as I can, slip in and climbing my way out of there. And my muzzleloader is saturated in water. My gear is saturated in water. I'm soaked. My boots are full. And I decide my hunt is now over. So I make the embarrassing, long, cold, sloshy walk back to my truck, freezing my butt off. And yeah, that was not funny at the time. There were some words said at the time, but looking back now, it was pretty funny. I just kind of imagined myself slipping on the ice and then being like fully submerged, and my muzzle loader's wet and everything's wet, and I'm just having the worst day. So that was pretty hilarious. Favorite thing to cook? Again, just like my favorite food. I don't really have a favorite thing to cook. I like trying new things. Pastas and stir fries are fun to cook. Different kinds of meats, anything really. I like to learn. I like to cook. I'll just whip anything up that tastes good. How can I get into hunting? I do think that I answered that question earlier, but if you guys want more details on that, let me know. How do you know which plants and mushrooms won't poison you? Very good question. It takes experience and a lot of research. So I will constantly, I love just being outside. So I'll be walking outside, walking the bush, just looking at different plants that are sprouting up, trying to identify them so I could become more familiar with them, even if I'm not actively foraging at the time. If I see a plant or a mushroom that I think is edible or I want to eat, I will check 3 sources before harvesting and consuming that. So if it's a type of mushroom, I'll just, you always have your phone on you. So go on Google her up, and I'll just look at 3 different reputable sources to make sure that I'm getting the right information and make sure that I'm fully understanding how that plant is supposed to look, how it's supposed to grow, what time of year I should be seeing it at, because I really, really, really want to be sure that I am harvesting the right thing and that it's actually edible and not going to leave me dead or food poisoned. Like for mushrooms, let's say, you can kind of look at, there's a few ways to identify mushrooms. So you look at the cap, the gills underneath, the stem, the color, the time of year, the area it's growing in, the size, all that fun stuff, whatever pores it might have, and spores. And yeah, you just have to look at multiple ways to identify it, look at lots of pictures. And if you don't know, I do think that there are a lot of people out there that do those foraging nature walks where they'll go out and you go out with someone experienced and they can show you what exactly is and isn't safe to consume in your area. I haven't done any of those yet, but I really want to because I think it would be very fascinating. But maybe that's something that Google will bring up for you. I know I keep saying Google it, but that's how I learn. I Google and YouTube everything because I don't know. I don't have some person with me constantly feeding me information because nobody knows everything. So yeah, just do your research and make sure that you really identify the different anatomical, I don't know, different parts of the plant, mushroom, whatever you want to eat, to make sure that it all lines up with the species, to make sure that, because there are a lot of lookalikes that people can very easily assume are edible, but they're actually deadly. And I just turned the page and realized that this is the last question. Of course, we're landing on this one, or ending on this one. How did you get into grooming cats? Do a lot of people actually get their cats groomed? So as of May, I will not be grooming cats anymore. I'm got a whole lot of other stuff going on and I ain't got time for that, unfortunately. I used to work in animal hospitals. So of course, through schooling and experience at the animal hospitals, I had a lot of experience handling and managing cats as well as doing basic grooming. And I started grooming cats just for friends because I had friends reach out saying, you know what, my cat needs a shave, he's matted, he needs a brushing, whatever. Started doing that. And then, they told their friends. And then I thought, this is a good little side hustle, make my own hours, make a little bit extra money. So I just kind of started a cat salon part-time, advertised it on social media. It really blew up. But yes, a lot of people do actually get their cats groomed. I do it virtually 3 times a week. So Monday and Tuesday nights, I'll usually have about 5 cats come in, 4 to 5 cats each night. And then on weekends, I'll have about 7 to 8 cats come in for whatever shaves, brush outs, bathing, nail trims, all this fun stuff. It's for the most part brushing, shaving, bathing. And it's great. I mean, it's fine. I love working with animals. It's a great extra little side hustle. So that's how I got into it and why I do it. But life's getting busier and I am pursuing other things that I am a bit more passionate about. So that's going to go. And that concludes the questions for today. So I want to thank everybody that sent in a question. It's really helpful to help me, obviously, create this episode because without your questions, I wouldn't have anything to answer. If anybody does have any questions, then you can leave them in the comments wherever you're listening to this. Listening, watching, whatever you're doing, you can email them to me at jenwith2ns@ybhunt.ca. If you follow me on social media and I have my DMs open, you can DM me there. And yeah, I really, really, really hope that you guys will join me for the next episode. I don't know exactly which episode is going to drop after this one. I haven't decided yet. There's a few good options. So have a listen. I'm sure you'll learn something and get introduced to a new person that is probably very interesting and exciting, and maybe somebody that you'll want to follow and interact with in the future. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have the most amazing day or night or whatever time you're listening to this. And yeah, give me a follow on all the socials. Subscribe to whatever you're, listening on, whether it's Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Hit the subscribe, hit the like they always say. I know it's so annoying that we end podcasts like this, but it is important. The engagement really, really helps the podcast grow. Leave a comment, whether it's Jen, this was the most boring thing I've ever listened to, or a question or some sort of, statement that you have from any of the questions that I've answered today, a funny hunting story, a little tidbit of information, whatever. Engagement is great. And thank you so much for your time. I'll see you on the next episode. And thank you again for tuning in.